It's time for the Hockey Minute, your source for all of today's hockey news with some opinion. Strap in for the fastest news in the NHL. This episode is proudly brought to you by fucking nobody. We don't have any sponsors. Now, here's your hosts, Brandon and Ryan. And here we are. Welcome back to another edition of the Hockey Minute. I am your host, Brandon. With me, as always, my co-host, Ryan. And today we have a very special interview with Brett Lee, better known as Miroki on Defense, the brilliant hockey YouTube channel. But first, please subscribe with whatever podcatcher you use. Leave us a review on iTunes or a voicemail on Anchor if you're fired up about something we said or something you think we should be doing better. We'll play it on the podcast, I promise. All right, before we get into our interview with Brett, let's check in with my draft nerd of a co-host, Ryan. How you doing, man?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing excellent, man. I am absolutely stoked for today's interview. I was doing some research last night, and like always, when we have a guest on whose views align with mine, I like them more. So I'm pretty stoked here. For today's guest, we have a writer for Canucks Army, a brilliant hockey YouTuber, Miroki on Defense, also known as Brett Lee. He launched into the hockey zeitgeist with a shout-out from Steve Dangle. Brett has some real gems on his channel, things like the battle for the Calder, Cale Makar versus Quinn Hughes, a topic obviously close to my heart, the electrifying chemistry of Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, and many more that I hope we can touch on today. So, Brett, thanks for doing this, man. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. That was a great intro.
Thanks, man.
I love that.
Well, you're a Canucks fan, so Brandon's currently stroking himself off here. He's really excited about this. Having a guy
Quinn Hughes for Calder, baby. Let's go.
There you go.
Get it done.
Flattery will get you everywhere here.
Hey, so Brett, first off, I just wanted to ask, how are things here in Ontario right now? How are things out there with this current state of the world? How are you handling it?
Yeah, thankfully I've been able to work remotely from home, so I've been able to do 9 to 5 from home, and then I'll maybe go for a jog, and then kind of come back and get some more work done, or just hang out with my roommate. But we've been doing the social distancing. Kind of got a little hazy with the first stretch of nice weather a week ago with a bunch of people going out to parks, but hopefully things will kind of settle down once people get kind of used to the nicer weather.
So I was just wondering if you could walk us through sort of the genesis of your YouTube channel. Like, have you always been into video production and making those kinds of videos, or did you decide to learn it once you realized that was kind of the thing you wanted to move towards?
Yeah, that's a good question. I've always been kind of curious about making videos and stuff like that. I took a couple courses in high school. And I had an old YouTube channel where I was like video game commentaries. That was kind of my first intro into what making videos was like. And then I think I discovered Steve Dangle around the time of either the Nashville 9-2 video, which I think would put him kind of on the map, or I can't remember if that came out first or if it was the Boston Game 7 lead blown video. But anyway, so I found out about Steve Dangle, loved his videos, and I was like, whoa, there's a community on YouTube for hockey. Like, this looks really cool. I kind of want to be a part of this. So it kind of grew from there. And actually, yeah, as you said, Steve Dangle was kind of the first person that I really reached out to, and he's a really good guy. He's been very, very nice to me, and a big advocate in the community for people just getting started and just doing it. And the best time to start is today. So yeah, he was a big help, and it's cool that I've been able to actually interact with him in person at one of his meetups, and he's a really nice guy. So it's been a really cool experience being part of the YouTube community through hockey.
Well, that actually brings up a good point, because I was very curious. The first time I had ever heard of you was his shout-out. So, I mean, did you guys have a past relationship? And what goes through your head when you're watching a video by him and he's giving you a shout-out like that?
I reached out to him because actually I attended the same university that he did.
Okay.
We were actually kind of the same program. So I had no really interaction with him before. I just kind of slipped into his DMs on Twitter and said, hey, I'm a Ryerson student. I love your videos. Would really appreciate it if you would check out my video and just give me some critiques on it. I wasn't really expecting much out of it other than maybe he'll give me some pointers on how I can improve. And he ended up actually shouting me out in one of his videos. So I was just kind of in awe. Like it was absolutely crazy. Like that was someone I really looked up to, and for him to do something like that for me is kind of how I now feel almost a responsibility to continue to pass it forward, even though like obviously I'm not of the same audience that he has, but I mean I think that he just kind of started this the kindness and togetherness of what is the hockey community now on YouTube.
Yeah, I love that, man, and we feel that a bit in the kind of the up and coming podcast sphere as well, right? There's a real community around all of this stuff, and I love how invested everybody is in seeing other people succeed. It feels like kind of the polar opposite of the hyper capitalistic world, right? Like we're still trying to succeed, but we're doing it together, which I love.
Yeah. It's cool because I think people, I don't know, maybe part of the team sports kind of mentality plays exactly into what we're doing online, right?
Yeah, so that's a really good way of looking at it. So when it comes to your actual videos, like for example, the Quinn Hughes versus Cale Makar for the Calder, I mean, like how long is that process from you having the idea until actually being able to produce it?
I've actually, that's funny you ask, because I actually just started writing down what I call like my video process on a whiteboard, because I've been trying to figure out exactly like how long certain segments take, and like if there's any ways that I can actually like find inefficiencies and ways to speed it up the process so I can get more videos out. The ideation and kind of can either take just an idea that I know I want to get into, or it'll take like a couple hours of just researching certain topics to see if there's really any elements or a story there that I want to pursue. And then from there, it's at least another 8 hours just poring over film, watching film, looking through the stats, preparing all of that. And then I have to, from all the notes that I take from watching the games and looking through the stats, synthesize that into basically a research paper with a thesis and everything. So that's where my script comes in, and that takes another day, 2 days to do. Recording, it's the easy part. That's only a couple hours. And then editing is probably the lengthiest part, which although has gotten a lot faster since I've also I've become a professional editor. That's what I went to school for.
That helps.
So in my 9 to 5, so it helps. So yeah, in my 9 to 5, I'm a professional video editor, and then in my spare time, I edit more videos. So I'm kind of insane that way, but I think that's also why it takes me so long, because sometimes we're like, oh, I don't want to sit down in front of my computer even more. I don't know. It's like anywhere from 30 to 50 hours on a video.
Wow. Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we feel the same way. We just talk, and then Matt, our producer, just is up till 4 a.m. doing the hard stuff. So totally understand that. Hey, I wanted to just to ask you a little bit here about, you've been a Canucks fan, I'm assuming your whole life?
Yeah,
or
since birth.
Okay. Yeah, so, I mean, you live in Ontario now. Talk maybe a little bit about the fan bases between what you see from Leaf fan bases versus Canuck fan bases.
I see passion displayed in, honestly, a lot of parallels. Like I think it's a lot of us, like us against everyone mentality. Just because Toronto definitely, they feel they don't understand why the rest of the league doesn't like them. So they kind of have that us versus everyone. And then also, I think for Canucks fans, during the 2011 run, that's kind of where this chip on our shoulder type us versus everyone mentality kind of gets into it. So there's that. And then also, it's just so much passion. Like everyone has an opinion. Everyone's tuned in and has a good beat on the pulse of the team. So they all know what they're talking about in their own ways. So I think it's great. Like I think I love that we can have discussions like these, and so many Twitter accounts or podcasts or YouTube channels have come up from these things. Yeah.
There's this is my opinion, Brandon speaking. This has nothing to do with Brett, but I frequently say that the Canucks fan base is far and away the worst in all of the NHL. Like as far as toxicity and like vitriol and just not understanding hockey, like just being angry.
I wasn't gonna go there, but yeah, there's some. Yeah, there's some pretty. It's honestly like I kind of can't really look at Canuck Twitter much just because it's it's so divided. It's kind of tough to to really I don't know.
There's an incipient riot burning in Twitter at all times, just waiting to come into the streets in Vancouver.
yeah, and there's just such a need to be black or white, like it has to. You're either right or you're wrong type deal. Like it doesn't feel like there's a lot of middle ground.
That's it, and everybody who doesn't agree is an idiot.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask, well, what's your earliest Canucks team that you kind of remember fondly?
That would have been 2002, 2003. I was a West Coast Express guy.
Okay. Nazi, yeah.
Nazi was by far my favorite player.
Okay.
And then like my earliest actual memory of watching the Canucks though, it was with my mom, and we were trying to figure out why there was two people named Sedin, because we had no idea that they were twins.
That's awesome.
We were like, wow, that Sedin guy's everywhere. Someone had to tell us, no, actually, they're twin brothers. And we're like, oh, that's pretty cool.
That's, yeah.
Yeah, so I'll always have a deep-seated hatred for the Calgary Flames, because that 2004 playoff run was my first playoff experience.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I'm probably 10 or so years older than you, so kind of 94. That cup run is my biggest memories of the Canucks, and obviously I don't have any hatred towards the Flames, because I remember the sweet Game 7 victory. So it's funny how we kind of get set with our childhood rivalries, right?
The only bridge to your era versus Brett's era is there were still riots on both ends there.
I promise there will still be a riot next time.
Hey, you won't riot. You don't care enough.
Well, I'm a Caps fan, so I was downtown, but I was just more like...
Oh, yeah, you had plenty to cheer about.
Well, I mean, I had a lot of depression for a long time until 2018, so it was... I mean, at least the Canucks got there, but...
I've never spoken to someone whose teams won a Stanley Cup recently. Like, how was that?
Oh man, Brett, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I lived with my brother at the time. I was sitting in my room. I had my phone like on silent. I'm like, nobody called me. It was game 5 in Vegas. And yeah, I remember just watching the clock run down, and I cried a little bit. And I tell Brandon... Yeah, I tell Brandon all the time. I'm like, like growing up, I played with guys that went on to do different things and played, pro hockey, pro football, and they always say that they're not really in it for the fans. But in that moment, I felt like I was a part of the team. So
yeah, no, that's awesome.
But yeah, man, I mean, it's I don't know. We rip on the fan base, but I think that if Vancouver, when they win a cup eventually here, it is going to be
I can't imagine.
A huge relief for everybody.
I don't know what I do with myself. I don't think I'd sleep for a couple days, that's for sure.
Do you have a contingent of Canucks fans out there, or do you feel like everybody is pretty faithful to the Leafs?
Everyone's either a Leafs or a Sens fan here.
Sens fan?
Oh.
Which is interesting. But my roommate's actually a Habs fan, so we're cool. We're cool that way. We both have hatred for the Bruins, so it's fine.
Oh, yeah, everyone does.
Yeah.
I guess everyone does, yeah. It's the one unifying factor.
So just talking about the present-day Canucks, I mean, what are your thoughts on this team now? They kind of went through a bit of a dark age for a little bit there with Tortorella, then the Willie D years. Now they've got better coaching. And,
good old Willie D.
Yeah, better coach, and they seem like they've really built up their youth. I mean, how much longer would you say that we have to wait for the Canucks until they really break through and become that dominant team that we remember 10 years ago?
Well, a lot of the hard lifting's done. I mean, we got incredibly lucky being able to pull all the best player from the 2017 draft and one of the best players from the 2018 draft in Elias Pettersson and Quinn Hughes. So, I mean, that right there is more than enough to build around. Now it's getting those secondary pieces, just the supporting cast to really push this team over the top. And I mean, hopefully, like I think when Pettersson and Hughes start to get into age 22, 23 is when we're going to see this team really take off. It's just hopefully we can continue to surround them with guys, not necessarily like of the caliber of JT Miller, but we got to continue surrounding them with the correct players, which is going to be the next obstacle ahead. So, but yeah, if you're saying like timeline wise, I think I'm optimistic that we'll start to see some success hopefully in the next couple of years.
That actually leads perfectly into my next question. Most Canucks fans know, but maybe people that are listening that aren't kind of in this world won't, that the Canucks have parted ways with their head amateur scout, Judd Brackets. And obviously that's a big deal in the Canucks world. People probably give Brackets a little bit too much credit.
First of all, like, how crazy is it that the director of amateur scouting had to release like a statement, you know? Like, what other franchise has that happen?
Yeah, that's very typically Canucks, right? Like, yeah, our head of concession has moved on to bigger things, so here's our PR release.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty incredible.
So what do you actually make of the Judd Brackets thing? I mean, personally, I'm of the opinion that he probably didn't have as much of influence as people are making it out to be, but how do you see it?
The way I see it, the Canucks lost a forward-thinking, hardworking executive.
Yep.
But I mean, we don't know what happens behind closed doors, and I'm sure it's a collaborative effort with the entire team. But I mean, the body of work that he's produced since being promoted to the director of amateur scouting, I think speaks it's a testament to his leadership, for sure. Though,
yeah.
And I mean, I'm confident that there will be more Judd Brackets, but it is a little discerning that we can't keep our own ingrown talent within the organization. But obviously, I don't know what happened behind closed doors. I mean, you want to work with people you want to work with, so
yeah,
maybe it's a good situation for both.
But
I am a little disappointed.
Yeah. I mean, I am too. You were just talking about the need to bring in some supporting cast members for the Canucks, and like Adam Gaudette's a perfect example of that, which is that's a Judd Brackets special,
Exactly.
Right? That's a guy coming out of the USHL.
And like, what better way through also to be cost controlled too? So
Exactly.
for at least the first 3 years.
Yeah, and I mean, as much as Benning considers himself a scout and he has the reputation of being a very good one, you can't do that as a GM, right? You need to rely on your people below you. But at the same time, I mean, I heard Ray Ferraro talking about this, and it kind of sounds like Brackett was getting a little bit too big for his britches, right? It seems like he wanted a level of autonomy that no boss would ever afford an underling. So, I mean, we're never going to know the whole situation, but it seems typically messy, like for the Canucks, right? It's a little bit ugly.
Yeah, it's par for the course.
Oh, they don't need to hire scouts. They just got to check Canucks Twitter, man. Everyone's talking about Raymond Ballard in a second. We'll get prime Kovalchuk for that. So.
Oh man, I missed the Raymond Ballard in a second days.
Well, I think now it's like Pearson, Beagle in a third, and we can get Jack Eichel out of Buffalo, no problem. Botterill would be stupid not to take that. So I wanted to ask you about a couple specific players, and I know one of them was the topic of one of your recent videos, but I mean, just talk about Quinn Hughes, man. I mean, even as a non-Canuck fan myself, even though I live here, went to a few games this year. I was amazed at how smooth he is, just how silky his playmaking is, his vision. And so maybe dive into your thoughts on the better Hughes.
I appreciate you saying that. Yeah, he's just so much fun to watch. Like the way that he can just have an influence, like tilt the ice almost in his team's favor whenever he's on the ice, and like he's gonna be a defenseman that can log heavy minutes well into his career, and just have a massive impact on his team. I mean, I was watching them play the Wild the other day, and just there was one assist he had on the Canucks' first goal. He just got out of the penalty box, and there was a 2-on-1 with Jay Beagle, and he gave, well, I mean, Beagle, I'm not going to say it was the easiest goal of his life, but like Quinn Hughes outweighted the defender, was able to perfectly slide the puck through under his stick, right onto Beagle, and he was able to poke it under Dubnyk. But just like the way that he can lead transitions, use his edges, it's just incredible to watch. And like the fact that he's only 20, like, oh man.
Yeah, I mean, like there aren't many rookie defensemen who slide into being the number one D-man on their team in their first season. Like I can't even think of another D-man who's done it.
Yeah. Like
even Makar was really in the 3-4 spot with Gerard as the number one, right?
When was the last time a rookie D-man led all rookies too in the NHL? Like,
yeah,
it's impressive stuff.
Brian Leach, man. I mean, that was the stat of the day here in Vancouver, was that I think only Bobby Orr and Brian Leach were the ones that led all rookies as a defenseman in scoring. So
confirmed.
As soon as Brandon saw that, Brandon was just tweeting out randomly that, Quinn Hughes better than Bobby Orr. It was yeah, and the Canucks said, "You're hired." Just to move on to another player that, I mean, again, out west here, you've got McDavid and Draisaitl in Edmonton. You've got guys like Matthew Tkachuk coming up in Calgary. Vancouver has Elias Pettersson, who in hindsight probably would have gone first overall in 2017. I mean, as a Canuck fan yourself, I know there's going to be a bit of bias when I say this, but I mean, is he on that level in terms of, can he be a top 5, top 10 player in the NHL in the next couple of years here to get to that level?
I think he can be a top 5 two-way player, and I think like he has the skill to put up 90 points, 100 points in his prime. But like, what I really love about Pettersson, aside from his just doing his dekes, like the man works so hard on the back check, really wants to win the puck back for his team. Yeah. Block shots, gets in the lane, supports his D-man low on the breakout. I mean, he's going to be, I think, one of the premier two-way forwards in the game going forward. Like he has like the Mamba mentality almost. Like he's always out there working on a shot after practice. He wants to be better. He's always striving for improvement. Like I really think the sky is the limit for this kid.
And like my personal favorite thing about Pettersson is that fuck you attitude he gets when something happens that doesn't go his way, and then he just comes out and scores the next shift, man. Like not many players have that level.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, he can lock in. So like he's a guy at 100% one out there in an overtime game 7.
Just quickly, while we're still on Pettersson, how do you see this contract going forward? I mean, personally, I think he's a better player than Matthews, and I don't want to see him get paid more than Matthews because I think he's overpaid.
Okay.
But how do you see it? I
haven't even thought about Pettersson's next contract yet. I wonder if more Bridges will be signed just because of all the uncertainty right now.
Oh, that's so scary,
man. It is.
So scary.
Definitely, I think the team would want to go long term. I feel like he would too. We'll see, though. We'll see on the number. I don't want to say anything. Yeah, I haven't really thought about that too much.
Yeah, I know. For me, whenever I consider it, it's always the Matthews 11.5 that seems to be the bar. But okay, so moving on to the playoffs then with the Canucks versus the Wild. I mean, it's probably the best matchup for the Canucks in terms of winnability. But as far as my fan glasses, I think it's going to be probably the most boring of all the matches that are getting played. But I mean, the Wild were the hottest team going into the break, so obviously that's going to be cut short, and that's a boon for the Canucks. How do you see the Canucks' chances going into their round against the Wild?
Well, I like them. I like that it almost kind of worked out for us to get Markstrom healthy. So, I mean, I think that right there, just the advantage in goal is huge. Dubnyk didn't look the best this year. But the Wild, I think I saw a tweet saying that they had one of the fewest giveaway to takeaway ratio or something. I think they were like one of the least teams to give away the puck this season. And just going over their video right now, like they seem very well coached. They like to collapse and protect the front of the net really well. So I could see it. I think the Canucks have a very good chance. I think we have more of the star power. It's just and the fact, like you said, the Wild kind of halted their momentum. On top of the goaltending advantage, I think the Canucks have a pretty good chance of getting out of this play-in series.
Awesome, man. Well, listen, this has been a ton of fun. Thanks so much for coming on here and joining us. Why don't you let the people know where they can find you? Sure,
yeah. You can find me on Twitter and YouTube at Miroki on Defense, MIROKIONDEFENCE.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you again for coming on here. And listen, first of all, I'm glad that you didn't answer Brandon's question about Pettersson over Matthews, because you do live in the Ontario, the province of Ontario. So I was very worried for your health if you decided to just agree with him. And second of all, we'd love to have you come back on, especially once hockey gets going again, especially when the Canucks go on their magical run here, and have you come on and talk some more.
Absolutely. We'll compare Stanley Cup celebration experiences.
Hey, listen, unless a guy is, unless Brock Besser's drinking beer waterboarding himself through a t-shirt like TJ Oshie, it's not comparable. It's not comparable.
Yeah, I have a hard time seeing some of our players dancing in a fountain with the fans.
That's right. I think in Vancouver it wouldn't go over very well if we saw that. So,
all right, Ryan, where can everybody find us?
Yeah, guys, as always, you can find the Hockey Minute on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at the Hockey Minute. We're also putting out full videos of episodes on YouTube now, so you can check us out there as well. And hope everyone's still staying safe in these trying times.
All right, everybody, that's going to do it for us. Thanks for listening. Thanks again to Brett for coming on. Everybody check out Miroki on Defense on YouTube. He's making some killer videos. From Ryan and Brandon, we'll catch you next time on the Hockey Minute. We'd like to take a second to thank you, the listener, for joining us. And a big thanks goes to our writers and production team, Jules, Mark, and Matt. We couldn't do this without you.
Make sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at The Hockey Minute, as well as leaving voicemails on our Anchor page at Hockey Minute. And always make sure to subscribe to whichever platform you listen to your podcasts.
That's going to do it for us. This is Brandon and Ryan. We'll talk to you next time on the Hockey Minute. Managed to stumble right at the end there. One last little bit of work for Matt.